Well, let's begin. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ann Nguyen. I'm the Engagement and Operations Manager here at the California Department of Technology, Office of Broadband and Digital Literacy. Welcome to the third Education Outcome Area, Digital Equity Outcome Area Working Group meeting. Just so you know, today the meeting is being recorded. Both of our slides, the recording as well as minutes will be uploaded on our broadband portal after the event. Give us a couple of days to make sure that these are remediated for accessibility, and it will be shared out to you in a thank you email. Next slide, please. And a few housekeeping items before we start. When we are sharing our screen, you can select the side-by-side speaker view to see the ASL interpreters as well as the speaker. Closed captioning is available and can be selected from the toolbar from the bottom of your screen. The chat is also available. Feel free to introduce yourself if you haven't already. Let us know your name, pronouns, organization title, and where you're joining us from. Feel free to add comments as well as questions that you have, and we'll circle back in the community discussion to answer your questions. And then the raise hand feature is embedded in the reaction button. That would help us know that you are wanting to comment, wanting to go off mute, and so elevating you to the top of our screen. So with that, next slide. Thank you. Quickly for the agenda today, Kamal, who is our newly minted graduate from the Goldman School of Public Policy, will review the key takeaways from the February and the March outcome area meetings. Our opening panel discussion, our experts will talk about different programs and services in the educational outcome area, as well as the gaps and potential for digital equity. And then the community discussion portion where we hope you all will engage and have a lively discussion with us and a chance to ask our panelists questions. And then the last two parts will be how to take action and next steps for our June outcome area working group. But so with all that, I want to begin our panelist discussion. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry about that. Take that back. First, we will hand over to Kamal to do the takeaway from the past two meetings.
Thank you, Anne. Good afternoon, everybody. So great to see everyone again here, and welcome to everyone who's new. My name is Kamaljit Kaur-Gill. I'm a graduate student assistant who's been supporting the statewide digital equity plan, specifically around the education outcome area working group. So we've had two previous meetings to this, and some of the kind of main takeaways and questions we've asked were around what is digital equity, why it's important. And we then in March went into what digital inequities kind of exist. And these are kind of the discussions from our takeaways from our February one. First being the availability of ISPs and how that's been a barrier, alongside the fact that adequate connectivity is also a barrier. So in some rural areas, you only have 1 to 2 providers. And of those 2 providers, only maybe 1 qualifies for the Affordable Connectivity Program, which is a discounted program for families to be able to get connected to broadband. So families who may live in the other side of the internet service provider don't have access to that resource, right? Another issue we've seen is the availability of good connectivity. That's been an issue. There are constant freezes or lags to internet connection. That's been kind of causing issues for students and educators and teachers. This is also true not only in rural areas, but also true for urban areas as well. And then affordability continues to be a big barrier, both in terms of devices and cost of connectivity. Specifically in rural areas where it's already hard to reach and very expensive to connect. Adoption to internet, broadband, or the lack of adopting to internet and broadband, it's causing some kind of disparate outcomes for students. It's not, the learning experiences aren't as fulfilling due to the lack of connectivity, sometimes at home. Sometimes teachers aren't able to give out specific assignments that may require that technology. And this is true not only for K through 12 students, but it's true for students who are attending colleges and universities. And lastly, around digital literacy and how there needs to be more additional support and building of skill sets for educators, teachers, to parents, so they can ensure that students are getting the necessary resources they need to succeed. Next slide, please. So in March, again, we talked kind of about what are the causes in disparate outcomes in education and what the causes are of that. One was the type of technology used varies and differs from teacher to teacher, district to district. So the type of technology that may be used in one classroom but not in another can cause those disparate outcomes in education. Again, lack of technology and connectivity at home due to socioeconomic statuses also continues to cause barriers. Families who have the means to be able to afford connectivity will always have it, but those who are not able to and have to decide between either they're buying groceries or they're paying for internet, that's where we see the disparate outcomes in terms of student access to resources. And during the onset of the pandemic, many families lacked access to affordable devices, connectivities, and how to support and serve their students. And lastly, around concerns around the ACP, the Affordable Connectivity Program, expiring, and how sustainable is it for families when it expires, and will families be left with a big or larger bill to pay that they may not be able to afford then. And I just would want to say that we do have slides and recordings from the past two meetings on our past events tab under the Broadband for All portal. So you can definitely go back and check those out as well. Thank you. I'll pass it back to Anne.
Thank you so much, Mo, and great work. And thank you for everyone who participated in the last two outcome area working group meetings, as well as engaging with us in working one-on-one working sessions and the workshops that we've been having around the state. Many of our panelists we've met through these engagements and fortunately able to make time to join us today. So really, truly appreciate us building our stakeholder network and bringing more people to the table to have these conversations. And so next slide, please. And so we have a really good lineup of folks to share what they're doing in the communities with you from all across the state. In this order, feel free to hand back the mic to me after each person, but we have Gabby Guzman-Burns. I'm the director for Center for Equitable Digital Access from CSU Fullerton. I'm Sonia Hooks, Assistant Director of IT from LA County Office of Education. Louis Wong, Chief Executive Officer from Bureau County Office of Education. Renee Lavelle, Director of Technology at Winters Joint Unified School District. Dr. Anne Marie Richard, Associate CIO and Director of Student Affairs, IT at University of California in Berkeley. And then last but not least, Nida Anasari, I hope I got your name right, is our Coordinator of Technology Services at Outreach and Technical Assistant Network. So with that, I will hand over the mic to Gabby.
All right. Hello, everyone. So as she said, my name is Gabby. I am the director of the Center for Equitable Digital Access at Cal State Fullerton. What we are doing, we opened in January of 2022 to foster full inclusion by providing devices and comprehensive technology and digital literacy skills for all our students. CETA has two initiatives. One of them is C-Success. The other one is Titanware. So through those programs, students can request devices. The difference between the two is with C-Success, you get to keep it until you graduate. And then with Titanware, you keep it for the semester and then return it. And then if you still have a need, you check it out again. So the devices that we offer the students, we have MacBooks, we have Dells, we have Linuxes. We also provide monitors, eGPUs, headsets, and then portable hotspots. And we've also partnered with XS to provide the Affordable Connectivity Program here on campus. So they do come to campus about once or twice a month, and they sign up the students who qualify, and then they take their tablet, which is also a hotspot. They're on the spot. If they can't confirm eligibility, then they are given a link to apply online, in which they get it through the mail. And then we also offer students digital skills training. So we've had LinkedIn come in, we've had Apple do a couple trainings, because we believe that it's not just giving them the device, you also have to know how to use it. And then as far as, like I said, for the internet portion of it, we do offer them hotspots. And those, there's no need. You don't need to prove the need. You don't need to be in a certain financial aid program. If you need it, you put in the request, and then as long as we have enough, we do let you take it. The reason it's working here at Cal State Fullerton is because just our demographics alone. We are a Hispanic serving institution where 66% of our students are on financial aid, 32% are first gen. And so the program is really working for them because, a lot of them can't afford the devices, or even if they can, the technology becomes obsolete so quickly, there's no need to invest in it because we're providing it for you. And it's been working out great. Students are really appreciative. I would say that if I could change one thing, it would probably be more internet access. I mean, the hotspots are great, but obviously, they're limited because they have to return them. So if we could provide access to everyone, that would be great, because that does tend to be our popular item, is the hotspot.
Thank you so much, Gabby.
Uh-huh.
Oh, there we go. Just want to make sure I'm not cutting you off. Thanks for sharing that and having a chance to talk to you and your team. Just phenomenal work in terms of creating CETA and essentially getting that off the ground during the pandemic and making it sustainable for the students at CSU Fullerton. So yeah, so next I'd like to invite Sonia to the camera to spotlight, and please share a little bit about your work and the type of challenges you faced and see in the community, but also programs and services that you've developed or are working really well to close the digital divide for your community members.
Great, thank you. So I have been working in a digital equity space since 1997. So we have seen a lot here in LA County when high-speed network was kicked off, and Luis is there, Wong, and all of us have always partnered together with our county offices and our school districts to provide internet access to our students. During the pandemic, what we realized being in this space for 20 years is that we did not make that connection at home. We got schools connected, we got classrooms connected, we got professional development for teachers, but we missed that part where we got the broadband access at home. So in the midst of the pandemic, our County Board of Supervisors brought us together. LA County is huge. We encompass more than 10 million people and so many programs, from Department of Children and Family Services to what we do in educating our students. And, like I said, I've been in this space for 26 years, but for us to all come together and work collectively to make sure we close this divide is phenomenal, is what we're doing right now. So with the programs that were initiated with our County Board of Supervisors, our school districts were struggling during the pandemic to get their students connected. There was a loss of connection with students and their teachers because they did not have that access. So our County Board of Supervisors allotted us $17 million for us to be the procurement vehicle to get hotspots to our school districts, so they wouldn't be competing for those services. So we were able to get all of those hotspots out to students and families as quickly as possible, so they have that homework connection and that classroom instruction. And we were able to successfully pull that off. But we knew that that was just a Band-Aid. We knew that broadband access is what is needed in the home. It is a civil right. It is just as important as electricity, as running water. And our County Board of Supervisors and our superintendent are championing to continue that. So in LA County, We are working to stand up our own wireless networks and our own broadband to the home, free or low cost to our communities. Those programs are being spearheaded by the Internal Services Department at the county. And as a trusted partner, LACO, LA County Office of Education, we're helping our community members understand what's happening at the county. We're also helping in the midst of this program being lit up, which will be lit up sometime this late this summer in our pilot communities. We are still signing up communities and parents to the Affordable Connectivity Program. And there has been a lot of confusion because there was first, here's the hotspots. Okay, now we have the Emergency Connectivity Program, which was another program that was handed out by FCC where school districts can provide that internet access to the home. Now we're moving to the Affordable Connectivity Program, the ACP program. So parents are confused, students are confused. So trying to get a unified message and get communities to understand that, yes, we're tripping over ourselves a little bit, trying to get it right, but we want to make sure that you have that connectivity. And it's not just for the education of your student, but it's for your own education, your own livelihood, your own health and well-being. Connectivity is critical to everything. As we saw in our inner cities and our rural communities, signing up even to get the vaccination, you needed to have internet access. So there were neighborhoods of people that were disenfranchised and disconnected from those resources simply because they did not have internet access. And to sign up for the Affordable Connectivity Program, you got to sign up online. So, I mean, come on. So, there's a lot of work we have to do. We're opening up phone banks. We're having digital navigators in our libraries. We're having digital navigators at our schools and our school districts, and making sure that we're hitting all the wraparound services, free and reduced lunch programs. You shouldn't have to go to all these different departments to sign up for all these different services. Can you go to one place and get internet access? You get your free reduced meal program, you get your WIC. We just got to make it more simple for our community. So I can talk about this for days and days and how it's been affecting our communities, but we're working our hardest to get the message out, make sure people feel comfortable with having the internet access and understand the benefits of it. While there are some challenges, the benefits of it far outweigh the challenges. So we are championing that. And on behalf of my superintendent, Dr. Eduardo, who is also the chair of our county superintendents in the state, we are really extremely committed to deleting the divide.
Thank you, Sonia, and thank you for your service and advocacy. I hope you're coming to our workshops in LA, because I think folks would definitely love to hear what you're working on and be able to connect with you. I think you already have a question in the chat from Chris. So Christopher Durr asked you about the municipal broadband or Wi-Fi efforts. If they can read more about it somewhere.
Yes, I will drop the link in the chat, the Delete the Divide initiative and all of the work that County ISD is doing. We're also advocating for changes to the mapping that has come down from CPUC and FCC, which is not necessarily had the funding going to where it is needed most in our communities and our inner cities. So, I will drop that link in the chat so that you have it.
Thank you, Sonia.
There we go. Thank you so much. And next, I would like to invite to the spotlight, Louis Wong.
Thank you, and good afternoon, and thank you for having me here today. I really appreciate us having the opportunity to share our story. So in Imperial County, we serve about 36,000 students. We're in a very rural, remote community, very spread out, population about 180,000. live close to the border with Mexico and Arizona, so we're tucked in the corner, the southeast corner of the state. And for us, the challenge that came particularly evident during the pandemic was affordability. Access and affordability were probably the two main drivers for the work that we did. We had been focused on building, just like Sonia said, and kudos to Sonia, they're doing a lot of great work in LA. I can't even imagine the scale that they have to deal with. But, you know, we've been focused a lot on connecting our schools, our school districts, our government agencies, or community anchor institutions, and we've excelled at that. And fast forward with the pandemic, it really made us realize that a lot of our families either did not have access or could not afford access. Mostly afford access is what we found out. And so we have been playing in this space of building our own infrastructure. We are one of those unique counties where we didn't have a lot of options for connectivity even 20, 30 years ago. And so we started building our own infrastructure over the years. And that positioned us right before the pandemic to be able to offer our own wireless system. And in fact, we were piloting a wireless system right before the pandemic came. And so that allowed us to pivot really quickly. We had a system that was in pilot phase, and we started connecting homes, connecting students through our private LTE network. And we faced really quick, it just reached full capacity. We couldn't afford to add more users because we ran out of capacity really quick when the pandemic came along. And so again, like everybody else, we were scrambling. We eventually expanded our network, you know, fourfold to get that capacity to homes. Right off the bat, we were serving 3,500 families in Imperial County through our Borderland Connect system. Then we augmented the capacity. We worked with Verizon through the contract with LAUSD to provide those hotspots that were very affordable, around $10 a month offering. And so that helped us cover some gaps in places where our network did not reach these families. And that was really successful. Fast forward, you know, we leveraged a lot of other things. The schools were already providing devices, most students using Chromebooks. And so we were scrambling to try to get as many Chromebooks to families and to students at the same time. Our partners, USDA, was really helpful in this whole process, you know, through some of their grant programs, where there was a distance learning and telemedicine program where they were able to afford us resources to buy devices for the families to connect. Computers and end user devices that we could roll out. And so that was really helpful for us to try to help our districts, you know, and our schools to get what they needed in these times. And then, you know, we've also, you know, through the Imperial Valley Economic Development Team, they've done a great job in promoting the ACP program and some of the subsidy programs that are out there to get that broadband to the homes where needed. So a few combinations and strategies, very unique to us in terms of the position we had to build this infrastructure. We also solved some problems that we weren't expecting. You know, some families that had capacity already, that had broadband at home, didn't have enough broadband capacity when they had 4 people connected at the same time trying to do Zoom and distance learning. And so it was good to see that our Borderlink system, which is our own private wireless network, was able to fill some of those gaps and augment some capacity for existing people that had existing capacity. So I'd be happy to share a lot of what we're doing here. Pretty unique, but again, it was one of those situations where we could take some of those matters of connectivity in our own hands, and we're able to push through the pandemic. Fast forward to today, the system continues to evolve. We continue to add capacity. We're about to add 3 more antenna systems across to increase capacity, and it continues to be used, which tells us that there continues to be a lot of need there, specifically on the affordability side. So that's what I'll share today, and I'd be happy to answer questions when the time comes.
Thank you so much. Yes, and definitely the Imperial Valley has, I feel like, been highlighted for great work in ACP enrollment. So definitely, I think folks would love to hear more how you all did that. But yeah, just in terms of our next speaker, I would like to invite Renee from Winters Joint Unified School District. We have you on Spotlight.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm Raina Lavelle, the Director of Technology for Winters Joint Unified School District. We're located about 45 minutes west of Sacramento. We serve about 1,600 students, so much smaller than Imperial Valley or LA. But we are a rural school district located between Sacramento and Vacaville or the Bay Area. So although we're only an hour outside of the Bay Area, we do not have the same connectivity resources that Silicon Valley does. Our student population is about 70% Hispanic Latino, 65% socioeconomically disadvantaged. We have a very high migrant population, as well as a high population of students learning English as a second language. We have 2 internet providers in town. I know Kamaljeet kind of summarized a lot of our issues here in town. During the pandemic, it became evident that our current practices of just internet at school and then sending kids home with paper and pencil homework was not sufficient. And so we went one-to-one TK through 12. We were previously one-to-one 6 through 12. So getting devices to TK through 5th grade was like an immediate need. After providing devices, we realized a device isn't good without connection. So we provided hotspots. We still currently provide hotspots to any family that requests one without demonstrating a need. They do not need to demonstrate need. They just show up to the office and check one out. Last year, we provided approximately 350 hotspots district-wide, which is about 30% of our families total. This year, we have checked out about 60 devices, and we attribute the decline in the ACP program. We held parent engagement sessions to help families apply for ACP. As Sonia mentioned, applying for the ACP program is difficult if you do not have internet. And a lot of our families were able to go to our local library to gain internet access, but that's only open during essentially working hours or during the regular school days, because ours is a joint use facility with our school district. And so we find that, you know, during the summer and during spring break or winter break, those accessibility options are very limited in town. We also work with PK, and I believe I saw somebody from PK here, and PK has been a wonderful resource for parents. But what we're finding is that digital literacy for both parents and students is a struggle for us. So although we can provide connectivity, generally speaking, we still have a lot of rural areas where no connection is available. And working with ISPs to run fiber to town has been a struggle because it's not financially profitable for them to run fiber to serve a town of 7,000. But after providing connection to those we can and providing a device, we're finding that just basic navigation skills of a device is a struggle, especially for our families that don't speak English primarily, or have never like physically had a device. A lot of our families do say that they have internet connection at home. And by that, they mean they have a cell phone that has like data. And we know that that is not equitable access. And especially when they're attempting to fill out a FAFSA application for a student, which is now required for all seniors, it's just not, it's not enough. The digital literacy framework that the state put out in 2021 has been helpful for us as a guide, but implementation has been a struggle. We're so small that you know, finding a place for that, whether it's a standalone class or it's skills in individual classrooms, we need more support in what that really looks like to be like rolled out effectively. This coming year, we're going to be using commonsense.org's digital literacy curriculum for our students, but we're looking for something for families that has that kind of meat to it as well. We also rolled out what we're calling the FRC. It's the Family Resource Center. And this is a place that families can go to apply for things like WIC, like the ACP program, like, you know, apply for jobs, get help with banking. And it's just at our district office, and it's open, you know, 5 days a week. There's always somebody there, and it's our parent engagement coordinators or our EL specialists. So, you know, it has been helpful, but still it's kind of not enough. I will also say that E-rate was really helpful for us in getting those hotspots like paid for. The first year we did it in 2020, we just paid for it out of our budget. And then this year I was able to have E-rate funding cover all of our hotspots. I mean, obviously it's 80%, but to cover the hotspots for us as well. You know, we're banking on the Middle Mile initiative to really help us with connectivity in town. I know a lot of other small towns like us are in the exact same position. And when it comes to equitable access in education, as well as just family life and functioning, it's a struggle. So thank you.
Thank you, Ray, and thank you for highlighting the needs of your community and really bringing in the like, essentially, you're so close to an urban area, but it is like, you know, in terms of it is a rural community, and having the needs very juxtaposed, right, to an urban needs as well. So thank you for sharing that. And then next we have Dr. Anne-Marie Richard. I believe you also have slides. So what we'll do, Mel, if you don't mind sharing screen. Perfect. She's so good. Thank you. And then we'll handing the spotlight to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm really delighted to be here. I'm Anne-Marie Richard. I'm the Director of Student Affairs IT at the University of California, Berkeley. And I want to share a little bit about the Student Technology Equity Program that we developed here back in 2020. I'm very inspired by the folks that went ahead of me here on this panel, because I think a lot of us have been working in issues around equity and student access and technology equity for a long time. And it's so interesting to me that it really took the pandemic and people needing to work and teach and learn from home to kind of shed a light on how much inequity to access to technology is truly an issue for students at all levels. And I'm really glad we're including beyond K through 12. Because at the higher education level, as Gabi mentioned about Cal State Fullerton, it's such a need for daily instruction for students to be able to have the technology that's required. And again, until the pandemic, I don't think that even our institution realized the extent to which particularly lower income students were relying on on-campus technology. And when everything closed and people went remote, suddenly students that relied on computer labs or on the campus Wi-Fi network just didn't have access, and they were really struggling to participate. You can go to my next slide. I just have a few slides. So the Student Technology Equity Program that we call STEP, as I mentioned, we spun it up really quickly in spring 2020. And it was really framed as a COVID response effort. So it was open to students with financial need or with specific COVID need. And in particular, that was meant to address graduate students who are instructors who might be trying to teach from home and just didn't have adequate technology to do so. So in those early days, the first 2 years during the height of the pandemic, we really quickly provided close to 5,000 UC Berkeley students with all kinds of technology. The two highest requests were for Wi-Fi hotspots, which we were able to provide with unlimited data, and laptops that came with white glove support service, as well as tablets, headphones, webcams, monitors, other kinds of peripherals, some specific technology for students with disabilities, anything that they needed for remote teaching and learning. And so then after the COVID money we foresaw that COVID money would not stick around forever. And so by this past fall, we were in conversations across the campus, and particularly in communication with other equity programs. So our Basic Needs Center and our Financial Aid and Scholarships Office and other areas on campus that support students. We were able to establish STEP now as an ongoing program. And it has shifted now to be entirely a program aimed at students with financial need, but very much along the lines of, I think a few people mentioned this, Gabi, and I think Luis as well. We'd really like to get away from having complicated means testing. So we have a wonderful relationship with the Financial Aid and Scholarships Office, where now all new students and continuing students, if they're eligible for financial aid, they're automatically getting told that, you know, they can reach out to STEP to obtain technology that they need. And so this year alone, I think we've served an additional approximately 1,000 people. So to date, we've served about 6,000. And we know that we're probably not reaching as many people as many students as we could. So that's really going to be our focus moving forward, is expanding outreach and making sure that folks know about the existence of the program. If you can move to my next slide, very much in line with what my colleagues here were saying. I don't know if whoever's managing the slides, you can pop to the next one. Thank you. That we have some very similar reactions and reflections based on this kind of short term that we've been providing this. And the first one is really that technology, I think Sonia mentioned this, it's a basic need at this point, and particularly in higher ed. And we know that access to technology is not something that just sprung up when there was a change in our learning context, when things were more remote as a result of the pandemic. We also really recognize that Wi-Fi hotspots are an insufficient response to students' needs for reliable network. And what you might be surprised that in a big urban area like San Francisco Bay Area, where Berkeley is, that even when students now are back on campus and living in the city, that they still struggle sometimes to have reliable network at home. And there's a number of factors there that I think are really important. One is the super high cost of living in the Bay Area means that often you have 6 or 8 students sharing a 2-bedroom apartment. And so if they're all trying to access a single network at home all at the same time, maybe using Zoom for meetings or classes, it's just not sufficient for a lot of them. And the same is true for, say, parents, student parents that have kids at home that are trying to do online homework or surf the internet or whatever they need to do. You know, these hotspots are kind of a Band-Aid solution, and inadequate or expensive internet is a choice that students sometimes have to give up in order to have enough money for textbooks or clothing or food. So we're really tying in a lot with our basic needs program on campus to make sure that students that are really in financial need have access to these different kinds of technologies without having to jump through a whole bunch of hoops to get them. And then the other piece that I think I would underscore too is that even again, at a place like UC Berkeley, which is this elite research institution, it's a public institution, and the same people that are underserved in other social contexts are the same students that are often disproportionately affected by inequity in access to technology. So I mentioned student parents, low income students, students whose home base is in rural areas, undocumented students that might have a harder time showing financial need if they didn't fill out a FAFSA, that kind of thing. So a lot of the focus of STEP is to try and reduce some of those barriers so that any student who has any kind of financial need and requests participation in the program can have access to the technology that they need. So I don't think I'm saying anything new. I think a lot of our experience at UC Berkeley is similar to what folks from pre-K through all the way through higher ed are facing. And I really look forward to us continuing to advocate to kind of bring these issues to bear and make long-term solutions that aren't just Band-Aids. My final slide just has some contact information, which I'm also happy to put in the chat. But I really look forward to continuing to partner with other folks and be part of this effort to really increase equity, and particularly around the digital divide. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. All right, and then I know we kind of leveling in terms of age group of our students, and I think one population that we often don't think about when it comes to education is adult education. So I had a chance to meet Nita at our Sacramento planning workshop and invited her quite last minute to join us. So I really appreciate you taking your time to be with us. So handing the spotlight over to you to share a little bit about the population you serve and also the programs and services that worked well, and even any gaps that we could, discuss here in the planning process.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me to be a panel member and to join this group of passionate individuals who want to address the digital inequities that we have. So I know that there's a theme. I mean, we're all on the same wavelength. So I'm amongst friends in this room. Again, Netta Anasari, I'm the Technology Projects Coordinator for a project called the Outreach and Technical Assistance Network. And we're essentially a state leadership project. So this California Department of Education funds us to deliver EdTech blended distance learning education for teachers. So we provide the professional development for adult educators throughout the state of California. We are one of 3 state leadership projects. So the state California Department of Education definitely has multiple organizations or projects working to deliver professional development in different areas. I want to tell you a little bit about the landscape of adult education so you can kind of understand who our students are. Our learners are individuals over the age of 18 that are parents, grandparents, siblings, neighbors, immigrants, US visitors, refugees, high school or equivalent diploma seekers, and either job promotion seekers, basic education learners, trade seekers, and so on. Again, I told you a little bit about the fact that, our funding is a little different in adult education. You might see us housed at a K-12. You might see us housed at a community college district, but the providers are K-12 districts, local educational agencies, LEAs, the community college non-credit sector, the districts, libraries might be funded through adult education, nonprofit agencies, faith-based organizations, community-based organizations, migrant education as well as included, and corrections. So jail and prison systems as well could be funded through adult education. And when I say funded through adult education, I'm talking primarily the federal funds. We receive a certain amount of money from the feds through the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. Title II is family literacy. And then the state also has matched and also given us some money to continue our services and reach students that are above the age of 18 to ensure that they're have the basic skills in math, reading, etc., to get the job or finish their education. There are secondary education. So if they didn't finish high school, they still have the opportunity to come back to adult ed to finish their high school diploma. And if not finish their high school diploma, potentially get an equivalent. Many people know that as the GED. That's just a brand name. They're really getting in high school equivalency. So in lieu of their diploma. They might be going back for workforce reentry, training and support of the child's schooled success, so their K-12 parents in different program areas, along with programs for adults with disabilities as well in different areas of California. They might be pre-apprenticeship students, and the biggest program in California is our English as a second language, and that's where the largest enrollment is for adult education in our state. Right now, post-pandemic, we're about 500,000 learners in our system as far as adult education throughout the state. The California Department of Ed Adult Education Office definitely monitors that, and they manage that. But prior to the pandemic, we were closer to 800,000 learners. So you can understand that the pandemic, we did lose several of our students due to the fact that they didn't have access to learning when the pandemic hit. So I wanted to kind of tell you a little bit about, because we're funded a little differently, we have to go through a different kind of variety of deliverables for the state. So to ensure that they continue to receive the funding that they need. So our agencies, we call them agencies. So anytime because some of them are in K-12 districts, others are in community college districts and nonprofits and libraries, I will always refer to them as agencies. So just so you know, when I refer to agencies, that's who I'm speaking of. So for us to ensure that they continue to get funding, there are a couple of deliverables that they have to submit. One of them being the continuous improvement plan. And the idea behind the continuous improvement plan is that the agency identifies, a couple of goals with technology, professional development to help ensure that their students and their teachers have access to resources, tools to be able to extend learning in the classroom and outside the classroom. So through the continuous improvement process, we actually conduct a student intake survey and a teacher assessment. And the student intake survey, you can imagine, so we're surveying all of our students, and it's now officially mandatory. Our state administrator has made the student intake survey mandatory for all agencies to be able to ask for this data. We're, who are you? What are you seeking at the adult school, for example? They identify that, and then they're telling us as well if they have access to a device. What is their device? Is it a smartphone? Are they taking, is it a smartphone? Is it a laptop? Is it a tablet? Have they ever taken any classes online? How do they like learning online? Identifying the device. And do they share it at home? So for example, I think, some of my friends on the line that have already shared their stories, they also say, there's a lot of traffic in the home. So for our families, for example, maybe there's not access to a lot of devices. So the parent or the child may have access to the laptop, and the parent needs to log in and go online as well to attend classes. Well, there's limits as far as devices are concerned, along with the broadband and access to the internet. So do they have access to the internet is another question we ask. And do they have access to the internet through their phone? I mean, we're very specific. Is it through your phone? Is it through internet at home, a personal hotspot? Or are you going to a library or to a different agency, a different area to access Wi-Fi? So those are some of the questions that we ask. And there's about 20 questions on the survey to help prepare the agency to be able to deliver the best resources for those students based on their needs. So they calculate the survey results and include it in their continuous improvement plan and address the needs of those learners. Similarly, we do the same thing for our teachers. But for our teachers, it's really their comfort level and, understanding, what are the needs of your students so that you can deliver the best education through EdTech training and blended and distance learning. So, knowing that our students are not going to always be able to make it into the classroom, how do we provide those services online? So we want to assess our teachers to really understand their level of comfort and their knowledge. So we receive some data from there. The questions around that are really just kind of, are you familiar with this? What is, how do you feel? Do you feel proficient? Do you still need training in these areas? And the areas are, teaching online, access to devices, how important is technology into your, teaching, those kind of things. And so they kind of assess and tell us, their comfort levels based on those questions. Do you have experience with assistive technologies? Do you want to, be trained on assistive technologies? That sort of thing. So the surveys really help us kind of identify the needs of our teachers. And, it goes into the continuous improvement plan to be able to identify the needs of those teachers to be able to offer those resources and those training and that training. Because the pandemic highlighted a bunch of different inequities for us in adult education, one thing that we, that the Sacramento County Office of Education produced was a digital learning guidance document. And then Adult Ed adapted that and partnered with the organization ISTE, International Society of Technology Educators. And so we partnered to produce a digital learning guidance document that really kind of walks through, framework, standards, digital assessments, student engagement using these strategies, social emotional learning, and really reaching the adult learner through our digital world. So there is a set of recommendations in that guidance. It's a pretty hefty document, about 100 pages or so. And so we're we're implementing that through a facilitator's guide, through training, through a course using an LMS, a learning management system. And so the idea behind that is to use the guidance to guide you on, where there's some pieces of that you can adopt and use into your classroom today using the guidance document. So that's kind of what we were hoping to produce and offer all of our educators, admins, and even those that are not in the classroom. How do you reach your students in a testing situation? How do you reach your students when they walk through the door? So beyond that, it's certificated employees, it's our classified employees, it's our administrators. Everybody has some guidance within the California Learning Guidance document. We build digital leaders through our professional development opportunities. So we have a digital leadership academy where we invite 30 participants. They come in teams, and each team is representative of an agency where they have an opportunity to focus on a specific goal or gap at their agency and how they can reach or how they can fill in that gap using technology. And so through our leadership academy, it's a 2-year academy where they kind of walk through, the needs of their learners, take the data from the surveys and implement projects that will help address those issues. We also provide them grab and go lesson plans through our Teaching with Technology tool. And that's really an opportunity for a teacher to grab. A lot of our teachers are not contracted or full-time in adult education. They're teaching probably a part-time class in some cases. And so the idea behind, providing them with all the resources at any time at their fingertips, but they're quality resources that can, address their learner needs. And we follow the EEE framework where they're not only engaging students through technology, but they're enhancing their learning and they're extending their learning. They're teaching them how to extend and enhance their learning in the classroom. So it's beyond just an activity using your phone. It's, how do you take that technology or that device and continuously learn with it and make it a part of your daily life. Like I said, we follow the framework, the EEE framework. So if you need more information on that, I'm happy to share with you that. We also offer through Canvas. It's a learning management system. So we have provided a California Distance Learning Cooperative, which is a group where we purchase Canvas on behalf of the state. And all of the agencies have access to Canvas. They have access to 50 free licenses to start. And then of course, a discounted, incredibly discounted rate for them to continue to purchase more accounts and be able to bring all of their students into this learning management system. That way, if they continue their education and continue with the community college, or they go into a university and so on, they already have the skills on how to be online, how to use an LMS, a learning management system. So we provide the California Distance Learning Cooperative for them, and we purchase those licenses on their behalf, and then they get the 50 licenses and they can expand that if they choose to. All of this that I'm telling you right now is all accessible for our adult education and really for anybody on our website for free. So again, California Department of Education funds us 100%, and we offer all of these services for free for all of our educators. We also offer an annual symposium, which now we do it hybrid. We typically used to have, yes, a technology and distance learning symposium in person, but really the idea was to get them online in labs to kind of start working and get their hands dirty, right? Hands-on experiences. But we understood, the need is greater than that. So we want to be able to reach everybody. So we still have an in-person, but we also offer an online component and working on our skills to ensure that, all of our teachers have the training to provide high flex experiences. So flexible hybrid classes where your student could be at home and you have a set of students in class. And what is that going to look like? And we train our teachers that way through a symposium, through other professional development opportunities. Everything we do is following accessibility in Section 508 compliance, the law. So on our website, you'll find strategies and resources for all educators to be able to provide accessible resources to all of their students. So that's something that we offer our teachers through our website, and many other resources and tools through a website called the EL Civics Exchange, where the students in our English language learner classes, we want them to be a civic member, right? So we want to teach them a little bit more on soft skills, want to teach them a little bit more on how do you navigate the DMV, or how do you navigate an emergency situation, or, you know, how do you call the doctor and make an appointment? And so we want to be able to provide our teachers with resources to be able to conduct those lessons. So we do that through our California EL Civics Exchange website. And lastly, we like to celebrate our students. Our students have done great accomplishments, and, you know, life happened to them, and that's why they ended up in adult education. And so we have a spotlight called the Student 16, where we celebrate our students, and they are nominated on an annual basis, and they're highlighted at the AXA conferences, the administrator conference, along with our local California Adult Education Program conferences, where we celebrate our students. There are some amazing stories about adult learners. I'm going to pop those links into the chat, and hopefully you can access them and see them. I think I'm all done here, and so I'm going to hand it back to you.
Thank you so much, Netta. And I'm sure the resources you drop in the chat will be very useful for many people on this call, and for us too, to go back to and include in our asset inventory and Dean tools. So with that, I just want to make sure we have a little bit of time for folks on the call to ask you all questions. I know there were questions already in the chat, and folks are answering them as we go, but want to make sure there's an opportunity for folks to go off mic, you know, use your reaction raise hand button so that we can unmute you. Or if you are having a hard time unmuting, just put in the chat and then I'll find you and I'll unmute you there too. So we can do this both ways. Or if you have questions for each other, I want to make sure not to silence you as well. I think WU, how technologically challenging is hybridizing a symposium? I think that is for you, Netta.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. You know, it is, it does take a lot of work, and you know, there's a lot of equipment out there that have helped us. You know, there's something called owllabs.com. So that's OWL Labs, LABS.com. And you can purchase a device that is kind of rotating with you when you're teaching in the classroom. And then also the online student can log in and see the same thing that the in-person student is seeing. So there's some investment to a lot of equipment that can help kind of, you know, making a conference hybrid. But even then, I mean, I always tell my, you know, our agencies this all the time, you might not have the budget to purchase those things. So a webcam can do a lot of, you know, our teachers taught us so much during the pandemic when they had to pack up and go and still reach their students. Even when we were closed down, they said, hey, I have a web camera, I have a phone, you know, I have a tripod, let's log into Zoom. Let's, you know, here's everybody, you can see, you know, my board, and you can kind of join us online. So there are, our devices really help us kind of make a hybrid situation. And so each presentation, you know, has those tools and those devices. It takes a lot of people and tech. It also takes, we want to make sure that the experience is equal for those that are in person and online. So, you know, we need more people to help us monitor each room. So investments in people, investments in devices, so that we can ensure that the experience is as equitable as possible.
Thank you for answering that. And I'm not seeing more questions that aren't unanswered in the chat. I don't see hands. So I'm just going to pose a few questions for our bigger community, right? Like, so folks beyond the panels too, if you're able to share any digital equity programs that are helping advance educational outcomes in your communities. And then a few sub questions that you can comment on in no particular order is, does your organization offer programs to address any of the following: broadband affordability or adoption, digital literacy and skills training, digital navigator program, device access? And then question number 2 is, what digital equity programs do you think are still needed and are currently missing in our current, in our state?
I'll jump in here. In terms of For Imperial County here in broadband affordability and adoption program, currently our BoardLink system is offered at no cost to the families. This cost is currently borne by the school districts and some other government institutions that participate in our program. We still do recognize that we need to work more on digital literacy and skills. There are some programs out there through the libraries, the local libraries. I think we could definitely synergize a little bit more through other agencies, and we're trying to get the word out as well with making sure that our families understand some of the subsidy programs, walk them through those. As some have alluded here, they are complicated. And in some cases, our families just have these language barriers that don't really help them fully utilize these programs.
Thank you for answering that. I'm looking into our participants list and I'm not seeing any hands either.
And do you want me to jump in and add to that?
Sure.
I will say, your local adult school has many different resources also to access. I mean, many of our agencies, provided, device access. They were giving out devices depending on the funding that they received that year, and continuous funding moving forward. There are local grants that the adult schools are accessing as well to ensure that they are providing tools and resources and devices to the community in each community. I will say, as far as digital literacy is concerned, the adult school has taken the task to really be kind of that hub of digital, to teach our communities how to access resources online. So through an LMS, outside of an LMS, depending on your level or your comfort level using technology, you can, depending on the adult school, you can access training and development on digital literacy throughout the state.
Thank you for adding to that. Yes. I want to make sure I'm not missing folks. All right. So I don't see any hands, and I know Jason is dropping a few links in the chat. Sorry to call on you, Jason, but would you like to highlight these links and just give some context of what they are?
Sure. Yeah, we this past year we had 5 school districts in the Bay Area, mostly in Sacramento, participate in a digital literacy, a professional learning opportunity where we built capacity within teacher administrative teams, homogeneous teams, had communities of practice with them around digital literacy support, what's happening, creating exemplars in the classroom, and then building strategic plans around digital literacy and digital equity. And so I just put some examples of the work our county office did this past year, funded by the California Department of Education Foundation to support digital equity and literacy. And so just some links are in there. We built an application tool to help districts build a strategic plan around digital literacy. So we're hoping to continue to expand this work in subsequent years.
Thank you.
Jason, a follow-up question. I'm looking at the sample plan that you posted, the roadmap that you posted, and I see that Santa Cruz used the shift ed self-assessment. Did you guys have to pay for that, or was that service?
No, we actually built that. It's built based upon some research frameworks around ISTE standards and a few other ones, and it's an application. It's basically a Google form tool that will use Google Looker Studio to push out a report to all users as well. Happy to share that link as well.
Yeah, please. That's awesome.
I love the synergy.
Let me see. Yeah. 1 second.
I can bug you via email as well if it's easier.
Sure, it's right here. Now it's still kind of in beta format. Yeah, so it should send you an email report of your results once completed, and a link to access the Looker Studio report.
Amazing. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm scrolling through the chat once more, but if folks have anything to add, please feel free to drop it in the chat. Or any questions for our panelists. Seeing any, so I'll move forward to the next section. But if you do, please drop it in the chat and I'll try to bring us back if we can. The next part is map your work and map your impact, which is all your work is incredible. And we've been having our working session, our workshop, and here at Outcome Area Working Groups is a lot of planning processes, and it's all essentially coming together to inform our digital equity plan, right? And just want to make sure you all know it's a 5-pronged approach where we are conducting virtual and in-person, offline conversations so that we can really cover as much as possible in the state of California. And the DEAM tool, which is our digital equity ecosystem mapping tool, as well as our public survey, is another part of that plan to really survey California and get data into the plan that we're drafting. So handing the mic over to Broadband Equity Partnership to talk to you all about what that looks like and where we're in the status of all of that. Miley?
Thanks, Sam. Hi, everyone. I'm Miley Martinez. I'm with the Broadband Equity Partnership. And I'm going to be telling you about a couple of really important tools we're using to capture the amazing work that you are already doing across the state to drive digital equity, as well as identify the gaps and opportunities that we can make sure to address with our digital equity plan. So I'm going to be talking to you about 2 tools. The first is called the Digital Equity Ecosystem Mapping, or DEAM tool, DEEM. And this tool is now live. And it is, the audience for this tool is organizations or agencies or representatives of organizations or agencies that are doing or could do digital equity and inclusion work anywhere in the state. So it's a place where you can identify the programs being offered, where and to whom, and then also what's missing in each region. And that's going to really help us to identify barriers to achieving digital equity in every county across the state. And to access this tool, you can use the QR code that you see on your screen here, or you can visit the vanity link that's at the bottom of the screen. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about how you can access the tool and promote it. Next slide, please. We're tracking responses to the DEAM tool, as I mentioned, is already live. We have 163 responses to date. So as you can see, there's a lot of opportunity to get a lot more feedback. The map that you can see on the right-hand side of your screen shows responses by county. So the darker green counties are those where we have 11 or more responses. And the red and orange counties are those where we have 1 or 0 responses. So we could really use your help both in filling the tool out yourself and spreading the word so we can get feedback from all across the state, and especially those that are not represented yet. Next slide, please. So really the call to action here is to complete the DEAM tool yourself. It takes about 10 minutes. The survey is available in English and Spanish, and also to share the tool with your networks. So there are links on this slide. These resources are going to be made available to you, and I'll be dropping them in the chat as well, where you can access a toolkit that we've created to help you promote the DEAM tool to your networks. And that would include superintendents, principals, parents, any representative of any organization, nonprofits that are active in your education communities that want to be counted and represented in this work. There's also a link to the Spanish version. And we also have a version for ISPs, for those of you who interact with internet service providers that want to spread the word about capturing their work as well. And thanks, I can see that some of the links are already in the chat. Next slide, please. Oh, we can go ahead and do the demo now if you'd like to. I'll go ahead and speak about the other survey, and then we'll do a demo of both. So the DEAM tool was one tool that I wanted to talk to you about. There's another survey that is a digital equity online survey, and this has a different audience. So the DEAM tool, as I mentioned, the audience is really organizations and agencies and their representatives. The Digital Equity Online Survey is public and it's appropriate for anyone in the state of California to fill out. The target audience are households. So folks who are heads of household, want to reflect the experience of their household in using the internet. This tool is mobile friendly. It's available in 14 languages with built-in audio functionality. So that means that people who use screen readers or have low vision, people who have low literacy in any of those 14 languages have access to this tool. And it captures information about internet access, affordability, and adoption for residents in households. So we'd also appreciate your help getting the word out about this tool when it goes live, and it will be going live very soon on Thursday, May 18th. And I'm going to give you a chance to see how they work. All right, so this is the, I'm sorry, Mel, is this the, oh, this is, okay, so this is the public survey. And I knew that because you can see in the upper right-hand corner here, it's available in 14 languages. And so the user here has just changed to Tagalog, and there are others to choose from as well. And we're going to also demonstrate the audio files for people who would like to use those. So if you press play, we'll be able to hear that.
您的邮递区号是什么?
So really, there was a lot of effort to make this widely accessible. As I mentioned, it's also mobile friendly. And this is the tool that is available to any head of household or any individual across the state of California. And it will be going live on May 18th. And we'll appreciate your help getting the word out about this when it does go live. This is the DEEM tool, which is the survey that is already live and targets organizations and agencies. As you can see, it's available in English and Spanish. It just takes about 10 minutes to fill it out. And if you spend even maybe 2 minutes at the beginning entering this crucial information, this will help your work be captured. I can see from watching the chat on this call, there's a lot of great work already happening and questions about where we can learn more. This is one way we can aggregate all the amazing work that's happening across the state when it comes to digital equity. So the call to action is really to, in the first instance, fill out the DEEM tool, help us spread the word about the DEEM tool, and you can leverage our toolkit, and then also fill out and spread the word about the public survey when it goes live on May 18th.
Thank you, Marley. And it really does take all of us to really push this to the next level. And as you remember from the first, I think the first 2 meetings, we went over the timeline. We're hoping to capture all of this in the next couple of months and have a draft to you all by late summer. So I would say like August is when public comments period is open. That's when we will launch our draft, and really hoping you all can say what else is missing in this draft. And we are submitting the plan in November. So between August and November, that's when we're finalizing the plan. And so, now in terms of the timeline that we have and the tools that we developed, really leaning on you all to reach across the state, really. And if you remember the map that Miley showed just now, there are a lot of regions in California that, we definitely need to reach out to, right? And so we are in all these workshops and all over the state, but we really can't do it without you. And so we're pushing for virtual in-person engagements and these tools as well. Can we reshare the screen now? Just picking up in terms of next step. So we will have one more meeting for our Outcome Area Working Group on June 13th, same time on Tuesday. And that's, by then we would want to really let you know what is captured in the DEEM tool so far, and any data that we have found so far in the public survey, as well as continuing and building on this conversation. As you remember, in February, we talked about the challenges in the digital divide, the barriers that exist. In March, we talked about how that contribute to educational disparities. And building on top of it, this time we're talking about different types of programs and services that are existing to address that, right? And I'm not saying like we only focus on that. I think there's a lot of overlap each time, but as we're building and expanding our table, we repeat some, we expand more ideas, and really capturing what our state is doing so that we can do more and leverage, additional federal dollars to increase digital equity for the state of California. So with that, next slide, please. Okay, so I mentioned a couple of times of our virtual engagement opportunities. So we have the statewide digital planning group meetings, in addition to our outcome area working group meetings, and the dates are listed here. So really stay engaged with us, bring more people to the table. We do have topics across the spectrum. In here, we focus on education, but I know there's a lot of intersections, right, with the work that we do, from health to DL&I, to workforce and economic development. So if you have networks in your, in your work who may be interested or may not be available at this time for education, but could join another working group, please invite them to join those. Next slide, please. So I met Nita and a lot of folks at the in-person event, and so we have a lot more coming up. Here are some of our workshops through June 8th, and I think we have 3 more tribal engagement workshops later in June, July as well. So we'll announce that as soon as they are confirmed with the tribal government. But these are the confirmed events. All of the dates and registrations are available if you use the QR code. And it's a really fun time. I'm sure like some of the folks on here can talk a little bit about it, but it's refreshing to hear and work in person and just spend a day to share ideas and bring more folks to this planning process. So, and I think next slide could be my last one. So just a quick summary of everything we talked about. The next step for all of us is to complete the DEAM tool. By Thursday, we will send you the digital equity public survey, so you can forward that to your friends, family, and networks. Please continue to participate in the outcome area working group meeting. The dates is set, we're not changing it. And then attend a planning workshop in your region. Even if you can't attend the entire day, coming out way, or like, that's okay too. It's a lot of fun. And I feel very biased saying it's fun, but it is. I've been to 8 so far, and so I'm all across the state and meeting really great people who are so dedicated to this work, and think, bringing you all along as we're one team now, really, to do this for California. And so being to see you there. And next slide. And I think that's it for us. That is our general email for DE. So if you want to share, send people our way, you can use that. Or my email address is listed here along with Melanie. And please stay in touch. I'll stick around for a little bit to answer any questions, or if folks have questions for panelists, say it now or put it in the chat so we can make sure it's directed to our right panelists. So thank you so much for your time and have a great afternoon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, thank you.
Bye. Gonna